You have before you a packet of materials which was placed on the dais this evening. I'll just go through those materials very quickly. The first is a PowerPoint presentation, or a copy of a PowerPoint presentation that was presented at the Megaload meeting. I'll use the term Megaload since that's the popular one. On May 11th at the HERC. You'll also see a letter from the Missoula County Commissioners with an attachment that the mayor requested that be shared tonight, as well as a story from the Missoulian, I believe it is, indicating that Missoula County is intending some legal action in that the permitting in Montana. There's also a resolution from the Missoula, Montana City Council regarding the Megaload issue. Memorandum from the city attorney. A memorandum from Tyler Palmer, the street fleet. A memorandum from our volunteer fire department. And a memorandum from the chief of police. I'll go over those a little more in depth if you would like. Suffice it to say that there was a publicly noticed meeting which took place at the Hamilton Indoor Recreation Facility beginning at 7 o'clock on May 11th. In attendance were representatives from Imperial Oil, ExxonMobil. That would be Ken Johnson. He's described as the Curl Module Transportation Project Manager. Alan Frew from the Idaho Transportation Department, Reggie Phipps from the Idaho Transportation Department, Doral Hoff, who is the District 2 Idaho Transportation Department Maintenance Engineer, Dave Couch, the District 2 Idaho Transportation Department Traffic Engineer, Captain Lonnie Richardson of the Idaho State Police. Also in attendance were Mayor Cheney, Council Member Dan Carscallon, Tim Brown, Walter Steed, and Sue Scott. And in attendance for staff were myself, Jen Piffner, Les McDonald, David Duke, Ed Button, Randy Fife, Tyler Palmer, Kevin Lilly, and then some additional staff who assisted with, safety. That would be a couple members of our police department and folks who also recorded the meeting, Pat Mink, and videotaped the meeting as well and ran the sound equipment. In attendance at the meeting, we had, if you counted all those up, we had attendance approximately 200 people. About 15 city staff were involved. 5 members of the City Council and elected officials, 12 members of either the ExxonMobil Imperial Oil Contingency or ITD, and we, at the conduct of the meeting, when folks came in, we asked them to sign in so that we could contact them later if there was additional information and to determine whether or not they wanted to speak. We also handed out comment cards and asked people if they wanted to write their comments down, that they would then be given to the moderator, which the mayor served as moderator of the meeting. We received 33 comment cards, and I believe the mayor went through almost all of those. She can explain, but I believe that if there were comments that were very similar, she lumped those together for purposes of asking the panel. Mm-hmm. Thank you. We had 29 speakers who testified, asked questions, and added to that meeting as well. So that would not count the immediate presentation by Mr. Johnson from Imperial Oil. So with that, there were a lot of perspectives. Questions were answered. The conduct of the meeting, I think, the newspaper, gave a pretty good account of it. People had concerns over safety, the way that transport was going to be affected. The mayor put restrictions on the meeting that there would be no discussion of the whether it was environmentally correct to mine oil sands or whether cheap gas or fuel should be the issue. Those comments weren't allowed. The meeting ended about 11:20. We will collate the data. First draft of the minutes has already been done. Pat Mink with our engineering staff has drew the straw to go ahead and do the minutes of the meeting. But lots of people, 29 people spoke. There's a lot of research. We have to match up names and those sorts of things. I imagine that those minutes should be ready by midweek, hopefully. Of course, she's got some other things that her boss has her working on as well. When that gets done, then we will go ahead and we will send that out to folks, ITD particularly, ExxonMobil, so that they can go ahead and hopefully integrate those comments into their plans as well. The comment cards will also be synthesized, and those will be, at least the questions on those will be provided as well. We also provided a box for people to, and some papers, if you will, with addresses of ITD and ExxonMobil Imperial Oil, so that they could, citizen could share concerns as well. Prior to this meeting, we also posted the draft traffic plan, which was provided by Imperial Oil, ExxonMobil, and their contractor, Mammoet, the transport company. And it was put on the website, and folks were invited to take a look at that. And given the address again, if they had some concerns, they could email or send a letter to both ExxonMobil and ITD. So that's what we're doing, or that's the way the meeting went that night. It was, I'm happy to say that it was pretty well organized, went off, except for the volume of testimony, went off pretty much as planned. The next day, there was a technical meeting, we called it. It was an opportunity for the technicians, which would be our emergency services staff, public works staff, to ask questions directly of the hauler, Mammoet, and representatives of ExxonMobil. I was out of town that day. However, the report that I got back was that the meeting lasted an hour to an hour and a half. There was a lot of information exchanged. At that time, a lot of the points had already been made, because there, of course, were a couple of meetings prior to that I just mentioned. So with that, that's where we're sitting today. If you like, I can go through some of the handouts tonight very quickly, just to give a background, if it's the Mayor's pleasure.
Well, please do. Sure.
Okay. Again, the first document is the Curl Oil Curl Module Transport PowerPoint that was put on by ExxonMobil. I will take these in a little different order than they are in your packet. There's no magic to how they were put in. One of the things that was requested early on, and when I say early on, it's a relative term. As the mayor, I think, pointed out, the permit that was requested by Imperial Oil, ExxonMobil, didn't come to light to the city till fairly late in the game. In other words, the application had been made, ITD was researching it, and then we got I believe the District 2 of ITD then shared with us the information. So the permits have not been issued yet and had not been issued at that time. But what I want to make sure of is that people don't think that this has been in the city's possession for months and months. It's been essentially a matter of days and a couple of weeks. So when that was received, we looked at some of the challenges that might be facing the city, the safety challenges, the infrastructure challenges. So we sought out the expertise of our Public Works Department, Streets Department, Emergency Services, for both fire and EMS and police. And also, because of the jurisdiction of these loads traveling up the state highway, requested information from the city attorney as well on a jurisdictional analysis, as well as the policies of ITD in maintaining a safe and effective roadway system. So, as I said, you've got memorandum from those 4 departments in front of you. The most in-depth one I will note directly was by the Chief of Police. The Chief of Police talks about essentially the safety issues. He also notes that whenever there is any controversial subject such as this, he, in his duty, has to assess the potential for some sort of disruption, either of traffic or of those who do not wish it to happen, or a demonstration, things like that. So he spent some part of his memo discussing that as well. So, and by the way, these are presented to you tonight for the purpose of your review. The agenda item tonight is a report, so we're just trying to provide you with as much information as you can, as subject may be further discussed at some point. The other 3 documents, as I noted, the Missoula County letter from the Missoula County Commissioners to Tom Martin of the Environmental Services Bureau of the Montana Department of Transportation, just points out what the Missoula County Commissioners feel are issues that needed to be addressed. The gist of their letter was they were requesting a 90-day extension so that they could further analyze or request the Montana Department of Transportation to further analyze it. The Missoulian article has to do with the actions that the Missoula County Commissioners may take in perhaps challenging those loads, and they have talk about the folks that they have partnered with or have similar interests, so that article is about that. Again, it's not offered for the proof of anything except that that is another leg on this journey. Then the resolution of the Missoula City Council, again, was something that was presented, and I was requested to put in the packet tonight, which just shows, again, what City of Missoula City Council considered as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. As far as next steps, as I indicated, we will be preparing information to send on to as fodder for further consideration to both hopefully the permit applicant as well as ITD and the Idaho State Police if necessary. That information will all be public record, and then we're awaiting council direction on further movement by city staff.
Thank you, Gary. Dan?
I've only got pages 1, 3, and 5 twice in Chief Duke's memo. Is there? I don't know if there's a 6, but I don't have a 2 and a 4.
That's why I'm a city administrator and not a clerk.
That would be the duplexer.
Okay, I will get that to you. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I will have that in your boxes tomorrow morning, unless you'd like to see it now.
No, I can wait till morning.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have questions for Gary subsequent to his presentation? Okay. So I asked for this report tonight because not all of the council members were in attendance at both of those meetings. Gary, just a correction to a couple things you said. I wanted to add that Parks and Rec were there as support for the setup and takedown of that meeting, and they put in some long hours and did some awesome work there. I also want to mention that only 4 of our council members were present at that meeting, not 5 as stated.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant 5 elected officials.
Okay, and we're still waiting for some input from the written full-size sheets of paper that you alluded to. So I think that will be some interesting narrative and questions. Based on the resolution put forward by the Missoula City Council, I have drafted begun drafting a resolution for Moscow City Council's consideration, and I'll be giving that to you over the next day or two, so you can take a look at that and consider that at our next City Council meeting. I did want to elaborate a little bit on Gary's report about the article that explains the Missoula County Commissioners' vote to sue Montana Department of Transportation over the Imperial Oil Megaloads. And the Commission Chairwoman, Jean Curtis, is quoted as having said, "We were just trying to weigh whether it was our responsibility, and we decided it was." I hope that Moscow City Council makes a similar decision, as will relate to taking a position on these loads. That article in the Missoulian went on to say, have a quote here from Ms. Curtis. It says, the environmental assessment is just so flawed, Curtis said. It says those loads can't be divided. They're being divided right now. The interstate system is not, it says the interstate system is not feasible. It is. I did contact the city of Coeur d'Alene to see if they had taken a position yet, and they have not at this date, but they are waiting for a presentation to their city council on June 7th. But I did hear from their deputy city administrator, who said, quote, we may be different from Moscow in that Highway 95 doubles as their Sherman Avenue, and therefore the impact may be greater. I did want to comment on some aspects of the Idaho Administrative Procedures Act that requires that issuance of these over-legal permits is predicated on a, quote, reasonable determination of the necessity and feasibility of the proposed movement. And, in fact, Ken Johnson, who's the Curl Module Transportation Project Manager for Imperial Oil, the Canadian affiliate of ExxonMobil, said at our meeting that alternate routes are possible, but are just not the company's first or second choices. The Idaho Administrative Procedures Act also says that stipulates that the applicant must certify that the steps have been taken to reduce the dimensions and or weight of the vehicle and or load concerned in the permit to legal limitations, or, if that is impractical, to reduce the excess to a minimum. And those loads, as you know, as proposed to come through downtown Moscow, are 15 feet 10 inches high by 24 feet wide by 208 feet long, or maybe that as large as that, and weigh as much as 378,000 pounds. Ken Johnson said that it is possible to reduce the size, but doing so is constrained by costs and schedules, and those previously irreducible loads at 30 feet in height, in fact, have since been reduced, and cost does not appear to be a determining factor for this corporation. The Idaho Transportation Department's 2010 Facts and Figures says that its mission statement encompasses the core of ITD's responsibility to Idaho citizens. And again, I think that it comes to us as local elected officials to be interested in the prospect of having this creation of what could realistically become a permanent corridor for serving oversized trucking for an undetermined or perpetual amount of time, and to consider the losses to Moscow stakeholders regarding property values and the desirability of investment in residential and mixed-use development as we're trying to increase the density in our downtown with legacy crossing, urban renewal, et cetera. So I will be inviting the council's public statement about that, if it so chooses, and bring that forward at our meeting on June 6th. Okay. Any questions about that or comments?